You're right. So, Orion, Vaults of Winter. To my knowledge, this is the start of the Wood Elves trilogy, and to my knowledge, this trilogy are the only Wood Elf novels out there. So, let's set the scene a bit. It covers winter, spring, and summer. The main characters are Orion, who is, well, you know, Finvar, who is referred to as a shadow dancer in this, not a war dancer, and Ordana, who is a mage. And it follows these characters through the 3 seasons, and shows how their stories intertwine, and it's quite good. But yeah, the basic setup is that Orion's birth is cursed, which leads him to neglect the forest and the Wood Elves, which is not so good, because some beastmen turn up, and then they start poking around, taking an interest in some ancient magical standing stones, and not to mention that one of the elf nobles seems up to no good. As far as the way it's written goes, it was good. I only noticed like one sentence that was written wrong, but yeah, the pacing and the flow were good. I always had a reason to carry on reading, like it always kept me interesting, and I couldn't exactly tell what was going to happen next. One of the main strengths of it is that it provides so much background to the Wood Elves themselves, because, like I said before, to my knowledge, this hasn't been done before. The Wild Hunt is kind of wild. It is completely mad. But yeah, you'll see when you'll find out when you read it. In some ways, it feels like a journey of discovery, because you're finding so much out about the characters, Orion in particular, and bits out about Wood Elf society. But it does also slip into that common feature among Black Library books, where there's too much detail in the action, to the point where it just becomes ridiculous. Every single punch and every single kick is described in detail that's kind of slows up the reading. Now, to move on to characters, they are all really good. Orion is interesting, not likable, but interesting. Finvar and Ordana, they're really interesting too. All with their flaws and traits. I would have been so interested to for the book to explore more about the Way Watchers, because right at the start there's a Way Watcher called Stefan, I think that's how it's pronounced, or Stephen even, and he's the one who gets singled out to become Orion. And I reckon the Way Watchers could have made an interesting book all on their own. But yeah, he was a really likeable character. To go back to Orion for just a moment, to elaborate on him, he is interesting and he is not likeable, mainly because he stomps around the majority of the book in a permanent tantrum. He is constantly moody about something, and it really, really gets annoying. The book excuses this by referring to him as a newborn, and because of his sabotaged birth, but that still doesn't stop it from being annoying. And what's really disappointing and strange, is that at one point in the book he seems on the edge of an epiphany, and he just never gets there. Then he just carries on his never-ending tantrum. So you're reading thinking, alright, he's going to have an epiphany, he's going to, realise how he's been behaving, but nope, nothing. So yeah, I look forward to seeing how he turns out in the other books. On the whole, I quite enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a strange one, because the different strands of the story all seem to be like going their own way, and only really seem to intertwine right at the end, at the last possible moment. On the whole, I think it's a worthwhile read. It's good. Definitely if you're a fan of the Wood Elves, because it sheds so much light on them. If you're a fan of Warhammer Fantasy, yeah, definitely go for it, because it does add an awful lot of lore to it, simply by virtue of being the only Wood Elf series out there. But if you're just getting into Warhammer Fantasy, or you're and you're looking for somewhere to start with getting to grips with the lore, there's probably better places to start. Because, as you might expect, this has a very narrow focus specifically on the Wood Elves. You won't learn much about the politics of the wider Warhammer world, just how the Wood Elves see things. So yeah, if you're kind of new, maybe look further books. But if you're collecting Wood Elves, then go right ahead. I would also go as far as to recommend this to people who are just interested in fantasy. Because if you're just interested in generic fantasy novels, then barring a few Warhammer specific things, like that the specific beastmen, giants, and a few specific monster names and words and stuff, then yeah, it's really good. Anyway, in closing, it's good, just don't expect the Earth.